administration's opinion that the Attorney General testified truthfully?
I think every published report, I think the Attorney General talked about prosecution. Every published report that I've read about the case in question says that it's completed. No further charges or prosecution is contemplated. Clearly what the Attorney General said is accurate. You guys are conflating, you know, the subpoena with prosecution.
But it is a technical accuracy you're holding on to.
I'm not. I'm saying that based on what I've seen in published reports and what the Attorney General said, I don't see the conflict, but I would refer you to the Justice Department.
We also have an old law that would allow for prosecution of anyone who published the classified information. Isn't that correct?
You got a long way to go to try to prosecute people, the press, for the publication of that material. With regard to the potential prosecution of the press for the disclosure of material, that is not something that I've ever been involved in, heard of, or would think would be a wise policy.
Now, Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee have sent a letter to the Attorney General, and in that they say, how can you claim to have never been involved in the potential prosecution of a member of the media, but you were admittedly involved in discussions regarding Mr. Rosen's emails? And of course, that's James Rosen from Fox News, and the subpoena and the search warrant that Eric Holder signed off on. Yeah, just to be clear, Charles, he does say, with regard to the potential prosecution of the press for the disclosure of material, that is not something I've ever been involved in, heard of, or would think would be wise policy. But yet, in order to sign that search warrant, he has to convince the judge that he is interested in going after James Rosen in order to get those emails and what's in those emails.
So in the end, his defense is, because Jonah is right, either he lied to Congress or he lied to a judge. Their defense is it was a ruse. We didn't really want to prosecute him, which is probably true, because it's never successfully been done. The last people to attempt it seriously was Nixon in the Pentagon Papers case, and even the Nixon administration stopped and dropped it because it knew it wouldn't have a chance. So either it was something that they were not going to do, but they did it as a ruse in order to put Rosen in a separate category. Because if you are a co-conspirator, if you are a criminal suspect, and if you add on to that, you lard it on and you say he's a flight risk, well, then it allows you to do all kind of stuff to his emails, communication, personal and professional, that you can't if he's a journalist. So their defense is we went around the law, we essentially violated the law by pretending he's a criminal co-conspirator when we knew at the beginning he wasn't, and that to me is damning as well.
The issue of cybersecurity, you've seen it in the way that he's taken executive action, you've seen it in the way that we pressed for action by Congress on this. The President considers this a very top priority.
It'll be very interesting to see if in the upcoming meeting in California between President Obama and Xi Jinping, if the whole cyber issue and IPR theft, if it actually breaks through to a top 2 or 3 issue. And if it does, and if you find that a work program is created around this issue going forward for the rest of the year, that will be a very good sign, because so far there's been nothing in terms of the work of both countries around IPR theft.
Charles, I guess the question becomes that the White House says this is a top priority, but at what point do you cross the line? We obviously had the report about all of the defense plans that have been stolen. What part does it become cyber war and not cyber stealing?
The line is crossed. We are in cyber war, but it's one-sided. This is really interesting. It's a very damaging issue. It isn't only intellectual property, damaging our economy, and now, as we learn in this report, damaging our national security with high-tech weapons are compromised. What's interesting is that it's the new kind of warfare we've had in our generation. And with terrorism, we started with a passive defense. After 9/11, we realized that you have to go on active defense. Here with the cyber war, which is ongoing, we are entirely in passive mode. And in the end, it can't succeed because the other guys will be ahead of you. I think we really have to unleash the beast here and to counterattack. Now, here's the problem. With terrorism, you don't allow individuals to go out and to counterattack freelance. We have organized army and units. I think what we ought to be thinking about is units who operate in the government, under the government, certain agencies, who will launch cyber attacks against the Chinese as a deterrent, as a way to say, because the Chinese don't take any of this seriously. We never raise it in high levels to any extent. Our passive defenses are a joke. You want to get the Chinese attention? Cyber attack, and do it the same way that we do the anti-terrorism, under a government agency and with control.
Well, a lot of things happen at the NSA that are not talked about, and red team, blue team kind of things, I think, go
Let's
on
hope
there.
it's going on, because it obviously isn't extremely effective given the extent of the Chinese attacks on us.
Ultimately, the Chinese are a bunch of kleptocratic thugs, and they only respect power, and they have to put a price on something they've been getting away with for free.
Let me just add one complicating factor. We want an economic relationship with China.
It's a big
Holding them responsible and accountable. Haven't I heard that before?
This has been a Sunfish production.